Tensions are still high in Ukraine, and businesses are trying to do their best to distance themselves from Russia interests.
We will also have an exclusive sit-down with one of our professors who used to work for Marvel.
The Lady Rebels clinched first place in the Mountain West Conference regular season, but how are they doing in the Mountain West tournament? We'll have that and more coming up on Studio G.
Welcome to Studio G. My name is Kyra White.
And I'm Yavni. Thank you for joining us.
Today is March 8th, and it's International Women's Day.
Now, in honor of International Women's Day, I would like to ask you, who is a woman that inspires you?
When I think of an inspirational woman, my mom is the first person that comes to mind, hands down.
I would have to say my mom too. I know she's watching, so hi, Mom. I would also have to say Michelle Obama. She was very influential. She started all these movements and taken social media to speak for a good cause. So I would say Michelle Obama as well.
Very true. We are in the 13th day of war in Ukraine. Russia has slowly started gaining land in the outskirts of Ukraine as they are trying to surround the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv.
The United Nations estimate that at least 2 million refugees have fled to Ukraine. Most of the refugees have fled into Poland, Romania, and Moldova.
The UN has tried to implement humanitarian corridors in the areas of Ukraine that are getting destroyed by Russian artillery and forces. However, Russia has continued hitting civilian targets, and just this morning, at least 21 civilians, including 2 children, were killed in Sumy, Ukraine.
As Russia continues to break rules of war, sanctions against them continue to get stricter.
Just a few hours ago, President Joe Biden announced that he is banning Russian oil, natural gas, and coal from being imported into America.
Today, we remain united. We remain united in our purpose to keep pressure mounting on Putin and his war machine. This is a step that we're taking to inflict further pain on Putin. But there will be cost as well here in the United States. I'm going to do everything I can to minimize Putin's price hike here at home.
Since the invasion of Ukraine, both small and big businesses have been cutting ties with Russia in protest of their actions in Ukraine.
Companies such as Microsoft and Apple are holding products from Russia. Now, TikTok announced Sunday that they will be restricting certain features, such as live streaming and new content, because of Vladimir Putin's new law punishing fake news. Under Putin's new law, it states that spreading misinformation can be up to a 15-year prison sentence. Using words such as war and invasion could be a crime itself. Along with TikTok, Netflix joined the boycott by announcing that they will stop selling and providing its streaming video service in Russia. It is estimated to affect 1 million subscribers in Russia, and it is not known yet when the streaming service will become available again. Reporting for Studio G, I'm Justine Verstiga.
As the war continues, there are more companies joining to support Ukraine, and this morning McDonald's announced they are closing restaurants in Russia.
2 students are in critical condition, and 1 is pronounced dead after a shooting at an Iowa high school. The shooting happened in East High School in Des Moines, Iowa. Not many details have been released, but what we do know is that the victim who passed was not a student. 6 potential suspects are in custody, and it seems like the shots came from a passing vehicle.
This past weekend, a tornado caused devastating damage across Iowa, destroying over 300 homes. 7 people died, 4 were from the same family. It was rated an EF4 with wind speeds at 174 miles per hour. Nevada's 30th Governor Steve Sisolak announced that he is running for re-election. Currently, there are 9 Republicans thinking about running against Sisolak, but not all of them have officially filed yet. Former Senator Dean Heller and Metro Sheriff Joe Lombardo are 2 of the most prominent Republicans who launched bids to take Sisolak's seat. The last day to file for office in Nevada is March 18th.
This past Thursday, the UNLV Immigration Clinic inaugurated its new community advocacy office in downtown Las Vegas. Studio G reporter Anna Meza was at the opening and spoke with officials at the celebration.
After receiving $1 million in grants last year from local government, the UNLV Immigration Clinic quickly organized how it would distribute the funds to help the immigrant community in Las Vegas.
The UNLV Immigration Clinic was established in 2003 and now almost 2 decades later is opening an actual office in the community where it will be easier for their clients to access the actual clinic. So we have here the director actually of the UNLV Immigration Clinic, now the Community Advocacy Office. Professor Kagan, we're here now. This is what the moment, we were all waiting for. And how does it feel? Like, what's next?
Well, this is a huge step, not just for our clinic in the immigration clinic at UNLV, but I think for the community because we are going to be offering free legal defense for people facing deportation if they're detained or for unaccompanied kids. And we finally have an office that's a lot more accessible to people, that's right in the heart of downtown Las Vegas. And we can keep doing our work. We haven't stopped doing our work at any point, but this will continue to grow and I think be a resource for a lot of people. So it's really exciting.
Several community members who helped make the funding for this project possible came out in support of the Immigration Clinic's new location and shared a few words commemorating the only completely free deportation defense office in the state.
We have Governor Sisolak here. He was one of the speakers. It was quite moving. He talked about the importance of supporting these programs. Governor Sisolak, how did you get involved in this program?
Well, this was a bill that Assemblywoman Torres brought forward. I was honored to sign that provided for some funding, the first $500,000 for this clinic. But UNLV is the one that really started pushing this. I remember I was on the Board of Regents when we established a law school, and it's come so far. And it does so much to represent people that otherwise have no representation. I mean, there is no one else that these people can go to. So that's an incredible thing, and they oftentimes are living in fear because of, ICE and everything that's happening. But hopefully this will give them some peace of mind, and I encourage everyone who's got an issue to come on down and see the people at the clinic and see what they can do to help you.
This was Anna Meza reporting for Studio G.
For those in need of immigration services involving deportation or unaccompanied children, the clinic is now operating out of its new location on 1212 Casino Center Boulevard. They ask that those in need of services call 702-4760-750 for assistance. The clinic also offers other immigration-related services to UNLV and CSUN students and staff. For more information, visit law.edu.unlv.edu/clinics/immigration. As climate changes in the valley, the drought continues in Lake Mead. Homeowners are reminded to monitor their water usage. Studio G reporter Justine Veristiga has more.
The Las Vegas Watering District is reminding homeowners to only water your plants up to 3 times a week until April. They recommend watering with a day interval such as Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. The Water District also recommends to not water on windy or rainy days as it contributes to water waste. It is strictly prohibited to water your landscape or plants on Sundays. If homeowners observe any water waste, you can report it on the Las Vegas Water District website. Spring watering restrictions is grouped differently throughout Las Vegas, so make sure to double check which group you live in to follow those guidelines. Reporting for Studio G, I'm Justine Veristiga.
For more information, visit lvvwd.com and click under Mandatory Watering Schedule to input your address and see which days you are allowed to water.
It's been chilly the last few days in the Las Vegas Valley, but could the beautiful spring 70s be around the corner? Jacob Teller will have our weather update after this break.
My name is Blake. I received a heart transplant when I was 2 weeks old. I play defense for the Red Hot Tornadoes. Sometimes my heart starts pounding like faster and faster as I go. I know I have someone else's heart inside me. It makes me feel happy because someone was generous enough to give me a second chance to live.
This gift of life was made possible by an organ donor. Imagine what you could make possible. Sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
Chris Domine is a husband and a father. Chris is an athlete. Chris is even an Iron Man. But 10 years ago, Chris was facing a very different story because his kidneys were failing.
Basically, the doctor said, if you don't get a kidney transplant and if you don't do dialysis, you are going to die.
Fortunately, Chris received a second chance at life, made possible by an organ donor.
You know, your well-being changes, you know, from loss of hope to better times ahead.
More than 100 million people in America are registered organ, eye, and tissue donors. People of every age and ethnicity, because they believe it's the right thing to do. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
Hello everybody, my name is Jacob Teller and I'll be coming at you live with today's weather. To start things off, we will be looking at today's high, which will be 63 degrees and 5 miles per hour wind speed. So you know the wind has been calming down and obviously that makes the weather much more enjoyable for all of us. And yeah, just enjoy the weather while you can. And next up, we will have the valley temperatures. We're going to start off with the northwest region in Summerlin. It'll be 54 degrees. And then in the southwest region, it'll be 54 degrees. And you see a lot of 55s in central Las Vegas where UNLV is located. It'll be 55 in North Las Vegas. And once you move towards the east, we kind of drop down to 53, but mainly we're going to be in the mid-50s all throughout today, up until about 3 o'clock. So next up, we will have the weather headlines, and today it's going to be mostly sunny. You got to go out there, you got to enjoy yourself. You know, you can go out there in t-shirts. And then low wind speeds for now. Tomorrow and about Thursday, the winds will be picking up a lot more, so it will be pretty cool outside. So, but nothing too crazy. And by the night, it'll be clear, but a chilly night. So as I mentioned, it does drop down into the 40s, high 40s by nighttime. So you're going to be starting off with a t-shirt, and then you got to switch up into a sweatshirt or long sleeves. But yeah, that'll be the headlines for today. And then as we look at the evening planner, we'll be starting off in the 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. window. It'll be 62 degrees to 60 degrees, just a small little decrease in weather. And then by 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., that's where we really see the temperature drop to about the low 50s. And then once everybody's winding down at 9 p.m. to 12 a.m., we'll be going back into the high 40s. So anybody up at that time, up to, shenanigans and all that, they really got to just wind down. The weather will be getting, pretty cool around that time. So right when it comes down at 12 a.m., it'll be dropping into the 40s. And then for tomorrow morning, it'll be 43 degrees. As you can tell, this guy's going out running, but I feel like most of us will either use a treadmill to go running or we'll be sleeping still. So by sunrise 6:01, if you are up, you will be able to enjoy that, and it'll be 43 degrees out, so it will be pretty cool. Got to dress warm for that. And then lastly, for the 7-day forecast, we're going to be looking at 71 for tomorrow, and then as you can tell for the highs, it kind of ranges from 70 to about the mid-60s throughout this week. We do drop down to 56 for Thursday. That's mainly because of the wind speeds. And then as you get into the weekend and into spring break, it will be about 72 degrees, 76, 79, and 81. So right in time for spring break. We really got to just soak that up while we can, because we all know when summer comes around, it'll be really hot and we're not going to be able to even enjoy ourselves out in the weather. So that'll be it for today's weather. That's all for today's weather update. Next, we were going to find out more about an interesting professor here on campus, and I really do wonder who that is.
That's the secret no teacher will admit to you, is we really, we miss you guys when you graduate. Hi, I'm Ben. Okay. Is that good? I've been here at UNLV for about 4 years now. I am a visiting lecturer. I've been visiting for a while and hoping to stay. But my role here is in the journalism department. I teach classes in podcasting as well as the Intro to Digital Media class. I also run Rebel Media Group, which is a student-staffed, professionally guided digital media agency for journalism and communication students. As anyone who's taken any of my classes knows, within 5 minutes, I mentioned that I used to work for Marvel. When I was at Marvel, I started out as the editor on the website. And when things came up that were digital, they tended to just kind of throw them at me as opposed to hiring somebody new. So when social media started, I took on a lot of social media responsibilities. And when podcasting became a thing, specifically around 2011 or so, me and my boss, Ryan Panagos, we're just like, let's do a podcast. Let's do the official Marvel podcast. Working for Marvel was what I said I wanted to do when I was in 5th grade. So check that box. And I ended up staying there for 10 years. And I started as assistant editor on the website. And by the time I left, I was the editorial director of digital media. So I ran all the digital media that was coming out of Marvel. But I didn't necessarily intend to become a teacher. I was more just like, I want to do a job where I can see my daughter more. I want some new challenges as well because I've been doing this for so long. And then teaching presented itself as an opportunity, and it's been really, really good. I spend a lot of time with my family. I'm pretty boring. I have a 4-year-old daughter. I've got a son on the way. So I spend a lot of time with my family. My free time, it's those two things, man. Comics or like if you find me, I'm either reading comics or I am watching old wrestling on my iPad. I used to know the writer of Teen Titans, and he named a character after my wife. So she's on, if anyone watching this watches the Young Justice cartoon, there's a character named Miss Martian. Her real name's Megan Morse. That's my wife's name. And that's where they got it from. Thanks for watching Studio G. This has been Ben Morse.
Congratulations, Ben, on the upcoming baby, and hopefully more students learn to appreciate you on campus. I know after learning much more about him, I have a newfound appreciation for him. And coming up next, we will have an in-studio interview with the executive producer from the Blue Wire podcast studio. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
My name is Blake. I received a heart transplant when I was 2 weeks old. I play defense for the Red Hot Tornadoes. Sometimes my heart starts pounding like faster and faster as I go. I know I have someone else's heart inside me. It makes me feel happy because someone was generous enough to give me a second chance to live.
This gift of life was made possible by an organ donor. Imagine what you could make possible. Sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
Chris Domine is a husband and a father. Chris is an athlete. Chris is even an Ironman. But 10 years ago, Chris was facing a very different story because his kidneys were failing.
Basically, the doctor said, if you don't get a kidney transplant and if you don't do dialysis, you are going to die.
Fortunately, Chris received a second chance at life, made possible by an organ donor.
You know, your well-being changes, you know, from loss of hope to hope to better times ahead.
More than 100 million people in America are registered organ, eye, and tissue donors. People of every age and ethnicity, because they believe it's the right thing to do. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
Today I'm joined by Coale Henderson, who is the executive producer for Blue Wire Podcast here in Las Vegas at the Wynn. Coale, it's a pleasure having you on the show today. I'd like to first start off by saying, tell us a little bit about Blue Wire Studios and what goes on over there.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me here. I mean, what a beautiful set you guys have here on the campus. The Blue Wire Podcast. It's a podcast company formed in 2018 by our CEO Kevin Jones, and it was just kind of an idea to unify a lot of influencers and podcasters talking sports and all the different local markets. Since then, we end up in 2021, and they're making a deal with Wynn and WynnBet to get a studio inside the Wynn. And then they needed somebody to run it. And so I ended up moving here about 7 or 8 months ago to start filming there. And it's been an amazing journey so far. And we're really excited about the content that we have going on at the Blue Wire Studios and the content that is yet to come.
Great. I'm sure they're happy to have you at Blue Wire, and we're happy to have you on set and in Las Vegas. So next up, how does the Blue Wire studio work, and how does it benefit broadcasters?
Yeah. So, our whole goal with our setup is to have podcasters come in and just let them do their thing, So at the end of the day, they're coming in, they're there to create content. We're there to make sure the buttons are all hitting the right spots, they sound good, they look good. And, it gives a great opportunity for, to have a good visual look for the podcast, especially for social content as well, which is where I think the video is really important. And we continue to develop as we go. And with the shows that we have in there weekly and the shows that are either coming in from the Blue Wire network or outside the Blue Wire network. We keep just trying to have a setup where they're able to come in and it's easy for them. We just hit the buttons and everything gets done.
Yep, it's only going up from here then. I mean, you guys are getting off to a great start. How stressful is it running a bunch of different shows and making sure they all work throughout the podcast?
That is a great question. I like to joke that my first show was the last day of my 29th year. It was my 30th birthday the next year, and I like to say that I skipped right over 30, went straight to 40. But no, I mean, it's been it's been an amazing journey, and with all the different shows that we have coming out there, the challenges are the different topics, really. I mean, we have a combat sports podcast, a sports betting podcast, a soccer podcast, and that's just to name a few. I mean, we're kind of all over the place, and I think the goal for us is, the creators that come in, they know what they want to talk about, they know what they want to accomplish, and our goal is to go, how can we make this as easy as possible for them and make it look as good as we can? And there's a lot of different challenges with that. Everyone requires a little bit of something different, and each show is a little bit different flow. But it's a great challenge, and we embrace it, and we look forward to having more podcasts in the studio.
Fantastic. I do know that with your background, you were in video editing. Tell me a little bit about when you were working with NHL and MLB.
Yeah, absolutely. So I spent seven and a half years out in New York and New Jersey, and out there at NHL and MLB Network was where I kind of grinded my teeth. So, as far as video editing and video production is concerned, I always loved video editing growing up. Like my friends in high school, we did like sketch comedy, and I was always a fan of sports. So I needed some way to combine those two passions, and thankfully I was able to do that at NHL and MLB Network. And a lot of the stuff that comes from there is based off of ESPN, and to kind of learn how all that's done and the system of how all that stuff works and how that machine works. Was just valuable experience, and there's no doubt that it's helped me kind of figure out my career path and how we want to do things in the Blue Wire studio.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you for joining us on the show again. And coming up next, we will give you an update on the Lady Rebels' quest for the Mountain West Championship and more on Brittany Griner's arrest in Russia.
My name is Blake. I received a heart transplant when I was 2 weeks old. I play defense for the Red Hot Tornadoes. Sometimes my heart starts pounding like faster and faster as I go. I know I have someone else's heart inside me. It makes me feel happy because someone was generous enough to give me a second chance to live.
This gift of life was made possible by an organ donor. Imagine what you could make possible. Sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
Chris Domine is a husband and a father. Chris is an athlete. Chris is even an Ironman. But 10 years ago, Chris was facing a very different story because his kidneys were failing.
Basically, the doctor said, if you don't get a kidney transplant and if you don't do dialysis, you are going to die.
Fortunately, Chris received a second chance at life, made possible by an organ donor.
Your well-being changes, from loss of hope to hope to better times ahead.
More than 100 million people in America are registered organ, eye, and tissue donors. People of every age and ethnicity, because they believe it's the right thing to do. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life. Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov.
The Lady Rebels were hot throughout the whole regular season, but could they keep it going in the quarterfinal of the Mountain West tournament? Nick Todorovich has more.
The UNLV Lady Rebels finished up the regular season 23-6, which was good enough for first place in the Mountain West. But the squad isn't satisfied with this, and their journey to the Mountain West Championship starts on this beautiful Monday afternoon versus Utah State University. The Lady Rebels have high expectations in this season's Mountain West tournament. The expectations seem to make the Lady Rebels nervous early. Missed layups and open jumpers gave Utah State the opportunity to take the lead early in the game, but as the first quarter progressed, UNLV seemed to find their rhythm.
And for me, it was mainly just trying to prepare our young players and our team collectively for the intensity and the excitement of what is tournament basketball. Tournaments are awesome, and this is March, and it's the madness, sure, I guess. I just want to win.
The Lady Rebels took the game over in the second quarter, building a double-digit lead that they would not surrender. Even though the Lady Rebels had multiple players who won Mountain West accolades, this game was a team effort. 5 of the ladies finished in double-digit scoring, led by Nanika Obazar, who finished with 20 points. They trust in their depth going forward.
I think our depth, the talent on our team, it just puts me in such a good situation as a coach to where I know I trust them. I trust all of them. Not just Desi, not just Essence, but I trust all of them.
The Lady Rebels will look to build on this win and clean up some areas of their game to try to beat everyone in their way. Reporting for Studio G, I'm Nick Todorovich.
The Lady Rebels will look to continue their run to an automatic NCAA tournament bid when they face Air Force at 5 p.m.
Before the tournament, the Rebels honored their seniors at senior night. Studio G reporter Jacob Teller has more.
UNLV basketball held senior night last week before the men's final game at home for the 2022 season. Seniors of the team, as well as cheerleaders and dancers, were honored by the UNLV moments before tip-off. Bryce Hamilton, Roy Sam Jr., and Jordan McCabe were among the top seniors highlighted for the night, while Kayla Rooks, for the Lady Rebels, received her flowers for senior night as well. The Runnin' Rebels won the night altogether, beating the Wyoming Cowboys 64-57, capping off senior night victorious. Rebel fans will have plenty to keep up with this week as the men and women are playing in the Mountain West Tournament.
Both the men's and women's team are relying on their senior leadership to go far in the tournament. Good luck and go Rebels. Now from sports to entertainment, Robert Pattinson has a new film that is topping the box office. Rotten Tomatoes calls The Batman a grim, gritty, and gripping, most thrilling, ambitious live action, racking in a score of 86%. Right now it is the top movie from this weekend, earning a gross $1.3 million, beating out Tom Holland's Uncharted, which has been holding the #1 spot for 3 weekends in a row. Major news for music as it makes its way to the Las Vegas Valley. Megan Thee Stallion will be going on tour with Dua Lipa in her Future Nostalgia tour. The duo are also releasing a new single, Sweetest Pie, this Friday. Dua Lipa will be here at the T-Mobile Arena on March 25th. Tickets are still available at access.com. Also coming to Vegas is The Weeknd on his After Hours Till Dawn tour with special guest Doja Cat. On the first leg of his tour, he will be making a stop at Allegiant Stadium on August 20th. Tickets go on sale March 10th at 10 a.m. Now, we can't talk music without mentioning the American Country Music Awards that happened last night at Allegiant Stadium. Dolly Parton co-hosted the live stream award show with rising stars Jimmy Allen and Gabby Barrett. Some of the major winners of the night were Morgan Wallen winning Album of the Year for his album Dangerous, the double album. Chris Stapleton won Male Artist of the Year and gave a chilling performance of his song Watch You Burn in response to the mass shooting that took place in Las Vegas on October 1st in 2017. And finally, Kelly Clarkson closed out the show with her cover of I Will Always Love You, written by Dolly Parton herself and made famous by the late American singer Whitney Houston.
We both know I'm not what you need. And
I love that performance. Kelly Clarkson is amazing.
That was amazing.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at noon for more Studio G.